Hey there, welcome back. In this video, I wanted to do a big picture view of the QLoRA fine-tuning or training pipeline. We are sharing the Git repository along with this lesson, this video, but I thought before we do a full walk through the code, it will be important to map out the journey and see what are the key steps we are going through. Without that high-level view, I think it would be easy to get lost in the details. Also, I thought like if we just did a very detailed walk through the code, first it will be boring, second it will be a long video, and then third it's just not something that anyone would enjoy because you're looking at just code, and really the only time you want to look through other code is when you're actually working through it. So I would recommend when you get to your own project, that's when you start working through the code and maybe try to implement your own thing, or you can start with the code repository we have provided. Still, it's always good to start with a big picture view. So let's do that in this video. Okay. So yeah, this is part of week 3. There's a lesson around the QLoRA full pipeline. We cover both the training and evaluation in this lesson. I will talk about that at a high level for both of these workflows. Okay, so with the training side, which is what we call fine-tuning, because we are taking a pre-trained instruct model and training it on our own custom data, our own data set. In our case, it's Samsung summarization data set. So, all right, what are the high-level steps? So first, of course, we load the data set. We are getting this directly from Hugging Face. The next step is pre-processing. I'll walk through some of those details you should look for. There's a full video we are putting that's coming right after this one, which is going through the details of the pre-processing, the most important really part when you're talking about fine-tuning LLMs. Then we have the model setup. You load the base model and the LoRA adapters, and you put together a PEFT model. Then there's the training step, and that's where you're training the LoRA adapters on the data set that has been pre-processed in the right structure. And finally, once the training is done, you're going to save these adapters, which next we'll talk about the evaluation workflow. All right, so let me still talk about a very high level, some of the important things that you should be watching out for. So first, when we load the data set, again, we're getting it from the Hugging Face platform. And for the training workflow, of course, we need the training split of it. You can choose to work with a smaller subset of the data set, or depending on your choice of how long you want the training pipeline to run. But yeah, that's part of it, is just picking the split. Okay. On the pre-processing side, I want to caution you that the hardest part in LLM fine-tuning, really the part where things go south, is most likely to go south or go wrong, is the pre-processing stage. I found this one to be the most confusing to me. I found myself imagining I understood what is happening, and going through the exercise and then running into challenges, and then going deeper and thinking, oh, now I get it, I had missed this part, and then going through the exercise and then finding out I had still missed something along the way. And so I do want to talk, this is why we decided to create a very separate video specifically about pre-processing. So yeah, in the pre-processing stage, there's some important steps here. So we start with the samples, right? The data set includes samples. You can call them examples of conversations, and then the ground truth summary of it. So they had to be structured a certain way to train, to feed into the training pipeline. And so the high-level steps there are, you take the original example, you build the messages from it. If you remember, if you worked with let's say the API-based chat completion APIs, you will see that you actually have to convert your prompt into a message structure. So there's a user prompt, and then there's a system or assistant prompt, and you just put them together, right? The role and the content structure of chat messages. So that's the first step. Next, we have the chat template being applied to it. We'll again talk in detail about it, why chat template and what is exactly happening. There's a tokenization step that comes after, and then the assistant-only masking. We covered these concepts in week 2, but it's still, I'm telling you, might have thought you understood it if that was the first time you went through it. This is where things go wrong, and they've gone wrong for us many times, and we've had to figure out what went, where did we mess up. Okay, so that's the pre-processing step. There will be a lot of code related to that in the code repository. Next, we have the model setup. The key part there to remember is that you're going to load a base model in quantized form, and then you're going to take the LoRA adapters, and those LoRA adapters are going to be full precision, and then you put together the PEFT model, right? So that's you're only training the LoRA layers within the network. The training part, there's a lot of training arguments that you have to know about. This is like classical neural network training. You have to know a few things about what you're planning to do there. And then, of course, because you're working with large language models, you have to worry about memory. So there's some tricks you have to do about batching the data, gradient accumulation, and those kinds of things you'll need to worry about. That's, again, we'll cover that in video 3 after this. So this is the first one, which is overview. Next, we'll go through pre-processing. The third video, we'll talk about the high-level overview of training. So that we will talk about the trainer in that video. And then once you run the training, at the end of it, you will have the saved adapters, which we only save the adapters. You don't need to save the base model, right? So as you go through the pipeline and as you go through the code in the repository, always be aware that you're in one of these steps and you're doing one of these things that are shown on this chart, okay? So don't get lost in the boilerplate code that you're going to see. It seems like alien. You can always take that code and drop it into ChatGPT or Claude window and say, explain to me what's happening, and you will get a pretty good idea of what's going on. So again, I wanted you to have that high level overview before you dive into the code. Okay, let me do the same thing with the evaluation pipeline. Okay, and after that, the next video, we get into the more granular details. So as you see at the end of training, we're going to have these saved adapters, and really that's the starting point for the evaluation pipeline, right? Well, you're first going to load the data set. That's the first step, but you're really, again, taking the validation or the test split, whichever one you're using for evaluation. Of course, for most of the exercise here, we're working with the validation set. We'll use the test set at the very end. So yeah, we have the validation split, and then we will load the PEFT model, which is you load the base model, and then you also load the trained LoRa adapters, put them together, use it to generate the predictions. By the way, let me back up a little bit. You could have saved you could have merged the two models and saved them together, but it doesn't really make sense to do that because you're just going to save a large model. And so the pattern is usually just save the LoRa adapters. Okay, so just in case you want to just know why don't we just merge them together, the base and the LoRa adapters. You can do that, but no need to do that. Okay, so that is the high level overview. I mentioned, make sure you are never getting lost in the steps. You're always aware of where you are in that journey, right? Whether you're looking at the evaluation workflow, which you're seeing here, or the training workflow, the QLoRA training workflow. And you'll always be looking at a particular step in it. So also be aware why you are doing certain things, why we apply the chat template, why we do the tokenization a certain way, and the assistant masking applied a certain way. Just be aware of it. And if you do know that, then maybe you will write your own code. You don't have to use our code here in the repository. You can do your own thing, or at least play around with it. Okay. All right. I hope you found this useful to just get started. And the remaining 3 videos, by the way, in this same lesson, you're going to see go through the code walkthrough. First one, pre-processing. We'll do a lot more detail dive into that. Then we do a high-level code walkthrough of the entire training pipeline, which also ends up with the saving of the adapters. And then the last video, the 4th video, will be the evaluation pipeline, which is pretty straightforward in that case. Okay. We'll see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye.